You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we have a true honor. We have a special guest, man. We're going to have a good laugh today because we have a comedian, and she is also the Gutfeld co-host. Her name, Timpf. She is going to share with us her new book, I Used to Like You Until. Man, let's jump right into this. Good morning. How you doing, Kat?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing awesome. So this book, I think, I feel like people would appreciate it if they try not to judge before they pick it up. So for the audience, kind of explain why you want to write this book. And it's not just funny, but it kind of tackles so important topics to discuss.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's the reason I wrote the book is because people will judge it before they pick it up. And I feel like we're all judging each other based on a single, perhaps, difference in viewpoint or association or one single thing. I think we're being conditioned to believe that just because someone has a different viewpoint on something or is in a different political party, we're not going to agree with them on anything. And that's just not true. And this book is really a guide for people to connect. And I am in a unique position because I work at Fox News. But my first chapter is called I Work in Pornography in this book because sometimes if I'm at a party and people ask what I do, it's easier for me to just say I work in porn or no thank you than to say I work at Fox because that's the most controversial thing I could say. But I'm also independent politically, so I'm not a Republican. So I get it from Fox viewers for, maybe saying things that they'll disagree with. And then I'll get it from people on the other side just because I work there in the first place. And I'm in kind of this unique position to perceive all this manipulation happening and all this division that's happening and just how far it is from the reality of the people that I know in my real life.
And speaking of people have their own biasness, like people can assume anything just by looking at where you work, or if you happen to say something about a particular person, won't drop names on this episode, but it's always do or die. If you choose the wrong side, you're going to catch heat no matter what. How do you navigate that, knowing that, hey, you got to live, put a roof over your head, and you got to eat too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a concern. It definitely is. But I think that for me, it is also what I do in this book. I'm very vulnerable in this book, and I think that vulnerability is going to be a huge way out of this mess for us. Because I do that kind of in the hopes that other people will do that too. Being vulnerable makes it more likely someone's going to have compassion for you. And if you want to be seen as a human, you got to be willing to show that you are a human. Also, the stories that I tell in the book make it an entertaining read. It makes it a fun read. I kind of spill a lot of tea on myself. But I think that really, now with social media, it takes the humanity away from who we're talking to. And also, you look at someone's Instagram, you'll think that that person's life is perfect and everything's great. But that's not the case for any of us.
I know this is a random question, but it just popped in my head, and I'm 35. That kind of shows you my millennial type of vibe. But have you ever seen the video that always goes viral? The two dogs that kind of they're mad at each other, and then the gate opens. All of a sudden, they're like real chill and just like, oh, no problem.
Yeah, I have, and I'm exactly 35 myself.
That's how I feel with what goes on in this country sometimes. So my next question for you is on a scale of 1 to the popsicle incident, how bad does someone has to be to mess up and have you write them off?
I mean, probably the popsicle incident is in my book, yes. Probably a 10. I mean, listen, I'm willing to forgive. And I'm not saying that there's never a reason to write someone off. But what's not a good reason is being a pawn of part of this, partisan political power scheme that we're being subjected to, because both sides do it and both sides kind of manipulate you for the sake of their own power and their own control. And this book really helps you kind of wise up to that in a fun and entertaining way. But it also shows you how to maybe connect with people who you may have lost unnecessarily in your life, because politics, when you break it down, it makes us often fight with the people we know in our real life on behalf of people who sadly don't even know we exist. And it's pathetic when you look at it that way, but that's also the reality of the situation.
In the book, you talk about how binary thinking is being the enemy of critical thinking. In what ways can people, after they read the book, kind of say, like, hey, maybe I can actually look in the mirror and see how I treat people?
Yeah, I also call myself out in the book. I begin the book by calling myself out. Everybody has their own biases and their own, it's human to notice patterns, draw connections, that kind of a thing. But this book really shows you why it's worth it to actively work against that conditioning and actively work against that. Because if you have this binary thinking, you're not thinking really, because once you pick a side, you don't have to think. All the thinking's already been done for you. And the problem with that is you're missing out on thinking for yourself. And you're also missing out on not thinking just critically, but also creatively. And, it really, I show, because I'm independent politically, I have I'm in a unique position to perceive a lot of these things. And I show a lot of the ways, a lot of the tricks that people use in media, in politics. A lot of it is the same playbook with various issues over and over again. So I expose a lot of those things on both sides and give people those tools, but also examples through my own life that make it an entertaining read along the way.
We're talking to comedian and Gutfeld co-host Kat Timpf of Fox News, author of I Used to Like You Until, How Binary Thinking Divides Us. And speaking of dividing us, I don't know if you had a chance to watch a little bit of last night's debate, and we're not going to make you choose a side. I'm not going to choose a side. But in all fun and games, how did you enjoy the microphone muting and the interrupting and just the faces that were made throughout the night?
Yeah. And again, I'm pregnant, so I had trouble staying awake through the whole thing. Then I caught up on what I missed this morning earlier. But I honestly think that we set both candidates, the bar was set so low for both of them. People were saying that Trump was going to just basically be like screaming at her the whole time. But then people were saying that she wasn't being able to form a full sentence. So the bar was set so low for both of them that it almost seemed boring, I think, in comparison, what actually happened compared to what we were kind of told we were going to be watching.
Once again, I just want to say thanks for you being on today. I know you swamped busy. You took time and you're pregnant. Congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Hope you have a healthy baby. Ask one more last question. If you hope there could be some kind of way we can find common ground on both sides in America, what would you hope people can appreciate after they finish reading your book?
I hope people can see that we want a lot of the same things. And that's my opinion from being somebody who's toured all around the country and who's going back on tour and has all these various friends, but also based on research. We want a lot of the same things, but we just have different ideas of how to get there. And having a different way, opinion on how to solve a problem doesn't mean we don't care about the same problem and want the same things for our lives.
Appreciate the opportunity talking to Kat Timpf of Fox News this morning, talking about her book, I Used to Like You Until, How Binary Thinking Divides Us. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.